Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Boruto anime episode review. This one's going to be for episode 82, which is called Infiltrating the Hidden Stone Village. And yeah, I think this was a pretty good episode. I definitely think it was kind of stretched out. There wasn't a lot to it. But the big twist at the end, I think the scene with Konohamaru, and some little bits and pieces along the way were fun. I definitely don't think they had enough content here to fill a full episode, so it felt like a basic idea of just they have to infiltrate the Stone Village, and that was just really heavily stretched into a full episode. In that, when you really break it down, the actual plot of this episode happened really quickly. Like they obviously had a bit of a break when they'd cut away to Inojin and Akun, who got his name, every so often, and that took up some time. They obviously wandered around a little bit, not really knowing where to go for a while. They had the sidetrack thing of them trying to find Onoki, but then being sidetracked with getting food, and the scene of them eating was fine, of just getting across that like the older people in the village like Onoki. I think it served a good purpose to get across that, really kind of make you be like, oh, they're really going to learn something when they go to Onoki. He'll really direct them to the next stage of the journey. In no way are you suspecting that Onoki is kind of behind this in the end. So when they show up, I think the main thing to analyze here definitely is the last scene. Akatsuchi is there. He informs Boruto and everyone about what's going on, that they were informed of the likelihood that they would come to the village, but they now revealed, of course, that Kuretsuchi is missing, so they don't have the full details there. And obviously it was Akatsuchi, it was a surprise to him what happened here as well, that Onoki is in on this plan with Fu, and that's super interesting. That was a complete shock to me. I did not expect him to go that road with this. But at the same time, it makes sense. This is where I think suddenly this reveal actually helps to connect a lot of things together. Because in the first episode of this arc where Boruto met Onoki, there was the whole idea of when he sees Boruto, he kind of remembers his grandson, who they basically say is dead, if I remember correctly, or something like that. Something happened to him, and it's this big tragedy in the family. And then revealing now that Lord Fu here isn't actually I think maybe I'd speculated earlier on that like Fu was the grandson, but actually this is Onoki's son. So this would likely be the father of that Onoki's grandson. So that was a pretty cool reveal in that sort of helps to link all of this stuff together. Why they're researching kind of artificial humans, and why they want Mitsuki involved in this as, I suppose, the first fully stable artificial human. I'm getting the impression they're probably leading us down some sort of a road where the result of this, what's behind all of this, is them trying to make a new body or something like that, and make a new grandson or something like that. Like do something that kind of fills that void left by what happened there. I assume they'll have to reveal the full details about what exactly happened to him, and that will help to explain some of this, because I don't think they're going to fully commit to the idea that like Onoki is just full-on villain. I think they will ultimately get down to the fact that this is him still in grief, probably the biggest tragedy in his life, what happened to his grandson, and they'll use the emotion of that as a way to sort of absolve him, I suppose. Maybe in the end not a lot of damage will actually be done, maybe no one will actually die in all of this, and they can actually resolve it without people getting punished or being vilified for good. So in that sense, like, huge moment. It's probably one of the biggest moments of the arc, just in an episode where beyond that not a lot really happened. The other scene I talked about earlier on, I mentioned, was the Konohamaru scene. I thought this was really, really good in terms of, Naruto and Shikamaru mentioning that everyone we're sending out, they're not getting there, we're losing contact with them. Konohamaru, having been conflicted for a lot of this arc about basically getting the reveal that Mitsuki's related to Orochimaru, now is setting in stone that he wants to get a member of his team back. And even though it's the sort of rule of the village that you don't get involved in this stuff if you're emotionally invested, Naruto sees a sort of passion here that I think for Naruto, this is the sort of thing that he would do. He's allowing Konohamaru to do this, even if it goes against maybe the usual rules that they have in place. But I like this sort of the passion, the confidence from Konohamaru here. It feels like we're finally going to get big moments with him coming up, because I think it's fair to say it has been one of the more disappointing aspects of Boruto that we have Konohamaru in this Jonin position, and he's been involved in a couple of fights here and there, but he doesn't feel that great, even though he's technically the guy in the Kakashi position. Like, if you go back to like the start of Naruto, that was the position Kakashi was in, like this really, really high level Jonin, and that's exactly the position Konohamaru is in, a highly skilled ninja, very, very talented. We know he's powerful because of the clan that he comes from, having had training from Naruto. There's much more there to him than he's, I think, shown, and I think here is an arc where he's going out on his own. This should allow him to, at least in one fight somewhere, have a big win. The fight maybe I'd lean towards would probably be Fu versus Konohamaru. I think that would be a pretty interesting one. Or Ku, I think it is, actually. Lord Ku. Ku versus Konohamaru could, I think, make for a pretty interesting fight. In that, like, I suppose when you really break it down, who are the fights going to be? Because there's still Sekie and so on out there as well. But that feels like something that could be a big fight for Konohamaru. So that was good to see. But yeah, beyond that, it was just the kind of slow build towards them eventually getting to Onoki. Mentioning that, like, they're sort of keeping it a secret from the Stone Village that Kurtsuchi has actually been kidnapped, and that's why everything's going okay, and there doesn't seem to be like super high security, even though there actually is a security concern. So that the arc, I think, is getting good now. I think now that they've hit this point, like, there's some crazy stuff that's going to happen. Like Konohamaru on his way to the Stone Village, we'll see what happens to him along the way. We obviously will probably have to catch up with what's going on with Sekie and Mitsuki kind of coming up next. The immediate aftermath of what's going on here is everyone just captured? Because we know Akatsuchi is actually a pretty good, like, pretty skilled, so, but is it enough to be able to hold off all of these Akuta? I'm not really sure about that, so I get the impression they may end up getting just captured. And obviously the motive, the reveal of what exactly they're doing here, that's probably what's going to have to come out in the next episode. As for the side plot of this episode, Inojin left behind to look after the kind of little Akuta, who... The basic scene that we get is that it seems like Akuta either finds or potentially has killed an animal in this cave, and Inojin buries it and more or less teaches him what a burial is, the whole rest in peace thing. And it seems like it's actually learning from Inojin, and Inojin's learning to kind of have a connection with it, that it is actually a life form. And I think they're going to play with this along the way of, you know, Onoki and Ku think that they need to, like, use Mitsuki to, like, somehow improve the way they're creating these life forms, but maybe the real problem is that they're training them to be violent and all this stuff instead of just teaching them in, like, the way Inojin is. That's why that Akuta's turning out okay, the other ones aren't. They may go down some sort of a road like that, but I like the idea of Inojin, like, offering him a name. He writes down a bunch of names and basically has the Akuta to choose his name, and he chooses Akun. So that's pretty nice. It fits in. It's just a kind of nickname based off the whole Akuta thing, but it works, and it's really nice. All the other ones, you could sort of tell that they probably weren't going to go for them because they were really long Japanese names, and they didn't really fit for the type of cute character that he was. other than that, you know, there's the nice joke, I suppose, in the middle of the episode of just basically everything came together here because of Cho-Cho's really loud stomach growling, and the sound effect that they used for it was basically like farting almost, and like she made the entire like Stone Village laugh at her basically. But still nice enough. So that's my thoughts on the episode. I think it ends up being a pretty solid episode because I think a couple of the scenes were like really good, some of the best we've had in the arc, even though the overall episode didn't have a lot to it. So kind of middle of the road, but I think we're getting towards a better place. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the episode. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts are. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.